Fix clay soil forever with the Amish Humus Method, no digging. If you've ever tried to garden in heavy clay soil, you already know the frustration. The shovel barely goes in, the soil clumps together like bricks, and no matter how much sweat you pour into digging, turning, and breaking it up, it always seems to harden right back. I've been there too, wasting hours fighting against clay that simply refuses to cooperate. But what if I told you there's a time-tested, almost effortless way to transform compacted clay into rich, living soil, without breaking your back with endless digging? That's where the Amish Humus Method comes in. This approach, rooted in tradition and simple wisdom, turns stubborn soil into fertile ground by working with nature, not against it. Today on SoilSage Chronicles, I'm going to walk you through exactly how this method works, why it's a game changer, and how you can apply it in your own garden. Why clay soil fights back. Clay soil has its own personality. It holds on to nutrients better than sandy soil, but it also clings too tightly to water and air, making it suffocating for plant roots. When it's wet, it's sticky and heavy. When it's dry, it bakes into something close to concrete. The mistake many gardeners make is trying to fix clay by constant tilling or mixing in sand, but tilling only disrupts the soil's natural structure and makes compaction worse over time. And adding sand? That's a recipe for creating soil that behaves like hard brick. What clay soil really needs isn't more brute force, it needs organic matter. And this is where the Amish Humus Method shines. What is the Amish Humus Method? The Amish Humus Method is a simple, organic way of building living soil by layering organic materials right on top of your clay instead of digging down into it. Think of it as feeding your soil from above, letting nature do the heavy lifting. Humus, in its simplest definition, is fully decomposed organic matter, the dark, rich substance that forests create naturally when leaves fall, decompose, and melt back into the earth. The Amish discovered long ago that if you mimic this natural process in your garden, you don't have to break your back fighting compacted ground. Instead, you invite earthworms, microbes, and fungi to slowly transform even the heaviest clay into fertile, crumbly soil. How the method works in practice. Here's how to start applying the Amish Humus Method in your garden. First, stop digging and start layering. Instead of reaching for the rototiller or shovel, lay down organic matter on top of your clay soil. This can be grass clippings, shredded leaves, straw, garden trimmings, compost, or even manure if it's well aged. The key is to feed the soil regularly without disturbing it. Alright, now let's talk about covering and protecting our clay soil. You see, clay soil really needs a protective blanket to keep it from baking in the sun or getting compacted by rain. A thick layer of mulch, whether it's wood chips, straw, or leaf mold, does wonders. It helps keep the moisture balanced and even provides a steady food source for those hard-working microbes. Now here's where the magic really happens. You might not know this, but earthworms absolutely love organic matter. As they move up and down through the clay, they leave behind nutrient-rich castings and create tunnels that improve aeration. And let's not forget about the soil microbes. They break down those layers of organic matter into humus, which then binds with clay particles and improves the soil structure. Over time, your soil becomes loose, aerated, and, well, alive. Finally, let's talk about patience and consistency. This isn't an overnight solution, but hey, it is a permanent one. Within 1 to 2 seasons, you'll start to see some dramatic improvements, and after 3 to 4 years of faithfully feeding your soil from above, even the most stubborn clay will be unrecognizable. So, hang in there, and keep at it. So, why does this method beat endless digging? Well, the Amish Humus Method isn't just easier, it's actually smarter. Here's why it works better than the conventional approach. First off, it protects soil structure. You see, tilling destroys those important fungal networks and worm tunnels that make soil healthy. The Humus Method, on the other hand, builds them instead. It also encourages deep root growth. Plants naturally send their roots down into softened, living soil rather than fighting through those compacted layers. And honestly, it saves time and energy. No more hours spent hacking at clay with a spade, you simply layer and wait. Plus, it really boosts soil life. Instead of forcing your soil, you're inviting the helpers, worms, fungi, bacteria, to do the hard work for you. And finally, digging is just a short-term bandage. Humus? That's a long-term cure. When I first started gardening, I had a patch of soil so tough that rain would literally pool on top instead of soaking in. I tried double digging, I tried sand, I even tried gypsum, but nothing lasted. The soil just went right back to being a stubborn block of clay. Then I switched to the humus method. I started piling up leaves, grass clippings, and kitchen scraps. At first it looked messy, like I was just dumping waste in the garden. But the next spring, I noticed something remarkable. Worms were everywhere. The soil, once gray and lifeless, was turning darker, softer, and crumbly. By year 3, my clay soil had transformed into a deep, rich loam, and honestly, I hadn't dug a single hole more than a few inches deep. If you're ready to try the Amish Humus Method, here are some practical insights from experience. First, diversity is key. Don't rely on just one material. Mix leaves, grass, straw, compost, and kitchen scraps for a balanced diet for your soil. Also, keep it covered. Never let your soil go bare. Even in winter, a mulch cover helps protect microbial life. Go easy on fresh manure. If you use manure, make sure it's aged or composted, or apply it in fall so it has time to mellow before planting season. And chop it small. Smaller pieces of organic matter break down faster, so shred leaves or chop kitchen scraps before adding. Finally, think long-term. Clay takes time to change, but each season of layering really builds momentum. For the science-minded among us, here's what's happening under the surface. Clay particles are tiny and tightly packed, leaving little space for air or water. Humus, however, has a unique sponge-like structure. When humus binds to clay particles, it creates larger aggregates, crumbs of soil that hold water while still allowing air in. This aggregation is what turns sticky, lifeless clay into the soft, fertile loam that gardeners dream of. The beauty of the Amish Humus Method is that it's not flashy. It doesn't require expensive inputs, fancy tools, or exhausting labor. It's a quiet revolution, one that builds soil year after year in the most natural, sustainable way possible. When you adopt this approach, you're not just fixing clay, you're building a living ecosystem that will keep feeding your plants long into the future. So, if you're standing in your garden with a shovel in your hand, staring at rock-hard clay and wondering how on earth you'll ever grow food here, put the shovel down. Start layering. Start feeding your soil. Start trusting nature to do what it's been doing for millennia. The Amish Humus Method changed the way I garden, and it can change your soil too. You don't need to fight your clay, you just need to invite life back into it. If you found this guide helpful, I'd love for you to become part of the SoilSage Chronicles community. Hit subscribe on YouTube so you never miss another soil wisdom video, and share this article with a fellow gardener who's struggling with clay. Together, we can spread the knowledge that soil doesn't have to be fought, it just needs to be fed.